Hi, I'm Panda Hershey with Your Full Expression. Welcome to the November 16th Coffee and Charts Call, where we talk about seeing the bigger picture from all those details that the Mars retrograde portal has brought you. And if you are feeling really charged by all of those details that you found out about and have needed to process, then this is the time to see how it all comes together and what direction you need to head towards. Remember that this comes on the heels of having 2 weeks of deep interactions with someone, and this is showing you something that needs to change. And change often comes with trying something new. So how wonderful that this all coincides with a second period of growth between now and February that mirrors what you experienced from May to July. So how does this all come together? That's what these upcoming 3 weeks are about, and I'll walk through the progression of this on the call as we watch the movement of the planets. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, so a lot has happened. Juanita, welcome. Marilyn, welcome. Wow, we've got a few new people and some people who've had adventures since we last saw them. And it's so great to see you all. Thank you. A lot has happened since we last met. And of course, in the US, we had our election and there was a lot involved with that. And when we spoke last time, I talked about Scorpio energy as finding your collaborator. And that is absolutely true, because when we can feel how the other person is feeling and both parties can acknowledge that, depending on how they deal with it, so much is possible, right? When I tell someone that it's a struggle for me to find my voice and just say that is really hard for me, and people will give me honest feedback about what is working, or tell me, Panda, don't read from the script, just go with it. Then through that vulnerability, I can be better. And I'm so appreciative of that. But Scorpio is more than that. Scorpio is, because we can feel the other person, we can, one, sense when something is off. When they say something and that what there's coming out of their mouth is not what they're feeling. And it's an opportunity to call it out in whatever way is appropriate, and it becomes a teachable moment for both of you, that something can shift. And that is one way Scorpio shows up. And of course, another way is someone can feel how we're feeling and frankly use that power and vulnerability dynamic to get what they want, to take advantage of you, those kinds of things. And I'm sure we have seen all of that, experienced that sometime in our lives. And the question is, it was a perspective on what needs to shift. So if someone has had this pattern of taking advantage of you or not helping you be the best, it's that perspective on what needs to shift. It can be that Uranus change of how you show up, saying, I'm done with that. I don't need that anymore. Or it can be pointing you to what needs to shift so you can be your best person. But all of those things are what was going on over the last 2 weeks. It'd be wonderful. It was all collaborative and everyone trying to help everyone else to be their best self. But that is just not how it works. And so I hope I've given you a little more perspective on what the last 2 weeks might have been like. So the next 3 weeks, because we don't meet again until December 7th, is going to be about a very different shift, because everything is going to start shifting into Sagittarius. Not everything, but Mercury, Venus, the sun moving through there. And that is going to give us perspective on all that Mars energy that we have been feeling, of all those details. And so it is taking all those details and seeing the bigger picture and thinking about, when you see the bigger picture, what else do I need to do? What direction is this heading? And how am I growing into that or expanding with that? And so let's take a look at the movement of the planets. Okay, so here we are, and we've got a couple new people. So just to orient you, this is, essentially a chart with the Earth in the middle looking out into the solar system, and the Pisces Aries orientation is relatively traditional, but it will stay in this position. The constellations will stay constant, and you'll see the planets move in this counterclockwise direction. Generally, that is forward, and retrograde movement is backward in a clockwise direction. Just to point out some of the key players we're going to be talking about, here is Mars in Gemini down here. It started going retrograde on October 30th, and so it is slowly starting to move backward. And another key thing to look at is, here is Venus, pink, Mercury in green, and the sun in yellow, and look how clumped up they are. And that is helping to emphasize the energy in that part of our lives, or in the way everyone is behaving, because there's so much concentrated energy there. One thing you'll notice as we tick through day by day is that the moon moves the fastest. It's spinning around the Earth pretty quickly. And so you'll see that move, do a big jump every day. Okay, well, I hope that helps orient you. And so let's go take a look. Here's today, tomorrow, and in what day is it? 5 days, Mercury is going to cross over Venus at 7 degrees Sagittarius. So with Mercury crossing over, first of all, that will be maybe a busy day to be thinking about possibilities and receiving those opportunities. So when Venus is in Sagittarius first, it's like, oh, well, here are all these options that you could consider in terms of learning something or trying something new or seeing the bigger picture in some way. And then when Mercury is behind, it's like you think about it afterwards. But when Mercury crosses ahead, and we've seen this before with the sun, it's like you talk about it first. You talk about the possibilities. You talk about the bigger picture and what's possible. And then Venus comes behind and offers that opportunity, or you get consensus, or someone likes it. And so this is how that combination of energies kind of works, is that now all the talking will be ahead of the actual receiving of it. And then, of course, the sun is way back here. I went too far, sorry. The next day, the 22nd, Mercury and Venus are opposite the beginning of the Mars portal. So it's almost as though all of the things that we have been bombarded with, the start of all that information from September until October 30th, all those details that stirred our hearts in terms of excitement or frustration, we can start to see the bigger picture. We already talked about how when we got to the end of the Mercury, when Mercury started its retrograde, it was like we had this accumulation of data points, but now it's starting to like see the bigger picture. And so the next day, the moon crosses over the sun at 1 degree Sagittarius, And this is a new moon. That's the definition of a new moon. And we've now really started into the Sagittarius energy, community energy, seeing what the community can teach us, the world can teach us, what we can share with the world. It's bigger picture thinking. And on the 24th, we had the moon over here and it zipped across Venus and Mercury. And so the moon inspires you. It gives you this need to do something. So if you have been seeing the possibilities and talking about them, this moon helps stimulate you to get going. So if you have been waiting in yourself to find that oomph, maybe this is your chance, right? Especially if you have something at 8 degrees or at 1 degree, like you may feel this finally in yourself or in somebody else that you've been like trying to get them to get going. And on that same day, Jupiter stations direct. So how wonderful. Remember that expansion that we had from May until July? That is going to repeat again. This is our second chance for a growth phase. And how wonderful that it happens at the same time that the moon starts to help you see the bigger picture. Then in the midst of that, here's the Mars portal goes from 8 to 25 degrees, but on the 29th, Mercury is actually opposite Mars itself. So think of this as thinking on that day of all the details and seeing the bigger picture, especially if you have something at 19 degrees. It becomes very specific at that point. And keep in mind that as you keep going through any degree, you start to get more and more clarity. So if you have some idea of where it's going, it's like, oh, you're starting to focus it down of this is the exact path of how I'm going to do this and put all these pieces together. And so this may be a key day for talking about that. And then the next day, Venus does the same thing. So if you have a group project and you're trying to figure out what direction you're going, because you've got all this data, all this information about what might need to happen, then it's a great brainstorming day and a good couple days to try to get some consensus on where are we going with this. And on that same day, the sun starts to enter that across from the Mars portal. So the action can begin, right? With Venus and Mercury, it's like talking, getting some consensus, but no action until the sun is going to get there. And so now, finally, we're going to get some action. So a lot of stuff going on, all related to all those details you've been getting since September. Then on December 3rd, Mercury finishes its passage across from that Mars portal. Neptune also starts moving forward. So bringing in that community that you need magically, effortlessly, being surrounded by the people that you need to feel. And so, at that time, it's a good opportunity to think about who is in your life, who is it that you want to be feeling. Is that, if you've got that positive energy, if you've got a community that is supportive and is looking for the best in people, that's what you're going to be feeling. So really think about that as Neptune starts to move forward. And then on the 6th, Venus completes being across from the Mars portal. And On the 7th, we get the full moon in Sagittarius. So the sun opposite the moon. But look, here it is about to cross over Mars. And so there's a little extra boost here of I've got to get these details in and do something about it. Here are these details that are like exciting me. I feel some urgency, and I'm gonna do something to make this all like keep going and fit into a bigger picture, and maybe learn something or teach something or pursue some opportunity, because that's the direction I'm supposed to head in. And so this is the day we meet again. So there's a lot going on, but it's all connected and all related to the same thing, which is intense, but you can see how much progress is going to happen. And soon after this, we'll be rolling into the opening of the Mercury portal. And so it will all start coming together. So let's go back. Whoops. Okay, so some things to watch is just, we know that Mercury is going to cross over Venus and start to move away, but these are all really moving together, and you'll see the moon move quickly through them and then around over Mars as it comes back, and everything else will barely move. So let's take a look, and I won't talk. Okay. All right. It's a lot. Okay. So we start off in our retrograde portal guides with just a quick orientation for the people who are new. If you're interested in one of these, what you get is something that helps guide you to think about each of these portals. And it'll be with your natal chart, but this is mine. And this tells me that Mars is running through my first and second areas or houses. And we are in the retrograde period, but there is, I put this here, this question actually I should have gotten rid of, but this is all these details. These are all the details that we're getting to put into a bigger picture, and everything that is happening in the next 3 weeks seems to relate to what is the bigger picture related to all of this that we've learned. I talked about Jupiter moving forward on November 24th. And so this is that growth. And what new options are coming to recapture that growth that you had from May to July? If you think back to how you expanded or how you were noticed or how some community was there for you, and how is that happening again? And not only that, you've grown since then. You've had a lot of experiences since then. And so what are the details that you've gotten from that Mars portal that we're still in that are playing into that growth? And even what is the bigger picture of what new things do you need to try to have that growth be the best it can be? Neptune, as I mentioned, is moving forward starting December 3rd. And so how has community shown up for me in some effortless way? You haven't had to work for it. It just seems to have shown up. And how am I ready to trust and flow with being able to feel those people around me? And, just doing a quick check. Are these the ones you want to, for your life? Are they aligned with who you want to be your best self? And so when we think about the story for the next 3 weeks, it really is related to putting all those ideas into a bigger picture. Maybe you're trying to write a book. Maybe you're trying to take those details and have a podcast, or that there's something more that you're supposed to do with those. And some of those answers, you'll get a sense of what that's supposed to look like over the next 3 weeks. How are you sharing this bigger picture with someone? Because we're not doing this alone. Other people are involved, and Sagittarius is about community. How are you helping someone else see their bigger picture as well? And don't forget that all these things deepen and change, and you get to revise things as you learn more information. So feedback from others will help you understand that bigger picture as you kind of live through these 3 weeks and get more clarity. And don't be afraid to revise it and refine it. So just to do it a little more step by step, November 21st and 22nd, so a number of days from now, Mercury and Venus will be opposite the beginning of that Mars portal. That's the time that you'll start to discuss the bigger picture that those Mars details are painting. And think about the thinking coming first and then going for the consensus. So whiteboarding, or like throwing out ideas and having people say, that seems good. Or talking about speaking what it is that you think is the bigger picture, and being open to the possibilities coming into you almost right away. The next couple days after that, the moon, we get the new moon where it crosses over the sun. That's kind of like pre-work almost to get you going. And then the next day it crosses over Venus and Mercury. And this might be that oomph that you need to really get going and do something to take that step. On the 24th, Jupiter starting to move forward. So it's time to start growing again. And the first part is through the people that you're in community with. At some point, it's about a month, it will move into Aries, and then you'll have a chance to be noticed and seen. But first, you got to start with the people you're surrounding yourself with. The 29th and 30th, we get some specificity as Mercury and Venus are opposite Mars itself as it's moving backward in the retrograde. And at the same time, the sun begins to move across from that Mars portal, and it's time to start acting. So it's wonderful, actually, that Mercury and Venus are kind of ahead of the sun, because it gives you that opportunity to plan, right? To think about it, to get some consensus, and then the action of like following through on all of that. And then the 3rd through the 6th, Mercury and Venus kind of complete moving through Sagittarius opposite that portal. So it's like you finally see the bigger picture, and people are hopefully on board with the direction that you're heading. And then on the day that we meet again, the sun and moon are opposite each other. That's your full moon. And because the moon is crossing over, sorry about that, just it's time for action. So I think we're good. Okay. So tips for thriving. Again, all is relating to all that Mars information that was coming in. The details and ideas from the Mars retrograde are giving you perspective on the bigger picture. So what is it that you need to try or learn over the next 3 weeks? And you don't have to do this on your own. This is good to be checking in with other people. And that's what your community is for. You want to be flexible because the plan could change, or the direction or may change. You might want to tweak it. And it's also important to be a little patient, because the sun of follow-up and action and actually getting going on those plans is lagging behind. So it's almost like you have this opportunity to like get everything set up and then push through exactly as Jupiter is starting to move forward, because that's your growth spurt and it's kind of time to get going. So if you've been feeling as though, oh my God, I don't know what to do with all that information that came in, this is the time that we've been waiting for, to like see the bigger picture. And then the implementation of it comes a little bit later, but it's all there on the horizon. Okay. I'm going to stop my share and see if how this resonates with anyone. You know, you're welcome to stick it in the chat box, or just say, like, is anyone excited about the possibilities, I guess. Very good. Good.
It's good to hear it again and again, to see that again, because then it sinks in a little bit more right now. We're just seeing that progression with Mercury and the Venus ahead of the sun. And we can see that opposite the Mars, and that's starting to sink in. Oh, something's happening. I mean, the Jupiter portal I'm interested in, but when is that again? That's
November 24th. It starts moving forward. So right around Thanksgiving, which is perfect. And it goes until February. It ends on February 14th. So that look at that growth that you had from May to July, and this is a deepening and further expansion of that. Okay. Yo, Sorik, unmute yourself and or however you'd like to do it.
Okay. Yes, I wanted to share that I am indeed looking forward to this, especially with terms of getting some perspective on all the Gemini stuff. It was funny because the timeline that you laid out for like sort of like discussing and revising and such kind of lines up with a creative project that I'm collaborating on with my sibling, and we're currently in the discussion phases of it. And right at the end of like, I think like the time frame that you gave, like around the full moon, is coincidentally when we set like our tentative goal to be done with it by.
Perfect.
So, yeah,
that is so awesome.
I'm very tickled by that.
Well, keep us posted on how, like when we meet again, like if you've got it going. And
yes, I'll share updates.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right, I have gone over my 20 minutes and I apologize. And I just wanted to say that if you need me over the next 3 weeks, feel free to reach out. I'm always here, and I just appreciate you guys so much. It really means so much to me when you're here and we get to talk and I get to share this, and I get to hear that it's showing up in your lives. So take good care and have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate that. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Okay.
Thank you.
I hope you feel prepared to move through these next 3 weeks and can find that direction that you need to head towards. Just remember, be flexible and be patient. The answers won't come in the first couple days. It will take the full time. And trying new things often involves other people, one way or another. Either they're affected by what's going on, or maybe they have some good input for you. Just know that you're not in it alone, so tap into that community around you to find your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.